Welcome to episode 3 of the Earth Movers podcast. I'm your host, Zach O'Malley, and today I'm joined by my friend Demetres Hunter. Now, Demetres is a climate change and animal rights activist, EV educator, mentor, and the founding director of Generational Love. His goal in life is to open the hearts and minds of every individual he meets in order to create a brighter future for the next generation. Sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy today's episode of the Earth Movers podcast. Podcast, guys. It's your boy Zach. I'm here with my good friend Demetres. Demetres, just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, well, my name's Demetres. I also go by DJ or on all social media, Isuelo.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, welcome. And so you're on here just because, we've been chatting a little bit on various social media, and I was talking about, somebody brought up the concept of one meal a day the other day, and that's something that I had practiced for a decently long time, about a year and a half ago. And you sent me a message just saying like, hey, yeah, this is something that I've done, and I don't know, are you still practicing it, or tell me a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, so I still practice one meal a day.
Okay.
I go back and forth from either one meal a day or just intermittent fasting, where I
Okay.
just, eat all I can within
Yeah.
like a 3 hour window.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So tell me a little bit about how you discovered the concept and like why you were like, oh man, maybe this would be something that works for me.
So I was living in New Zealand about a year and a half ago now.
Okay.
And I stayed there for about a year and a half.
Hmm.
And I just was bored one night Googling, new
Yeah.
diet plans and trying
Right.
new things.
Yeah.
And I just discovered one meal a day. And I realized that prior, I was already doing that kind of whenever I cook my own meals, I
Hmm.
just only eat dinner and then that's it.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, I guess I've been doing this for a very long time already.
Yeah.
And it hadn't been like a huge thing for me.
Okay. And okay, so just kind of like random internet discovery. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I was trying to last night. I was trying to come up with, where did I first learn about one meal a day? And it was through first the concept of intermittent fasting, like you talked about. That's something that I used to do, and
Yeah.
I still do pretty regularly. I used to be on like a really strict intermittent fasting schedule, but I've kind of fallen off a little bit. But I'm trying to get back on. We'll
Yeah,
get
it
back.
happens.
But I discovered this guy, and his name is Dr. Amin Ra. That's his. I don't know if that's his like real name, but that's his, maybe like his pseudonym. I mean, I know he's he's a deeply well-read scholar, and he's really into kind of ancient religions, specifically like ancient Egyptian religions. And so I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here,
No,
but
go ahead. Like, educate me.
yeah, he's he like, he's very interested in like Ra and how Ra came to Earth, to
Hmm.
I guess Amen Ra means, the savior of, maybe Earth or mankind or existence or something like that. But
Yeah.
anyway, so he is basically a vegan bodybuilder slash strongman, and eats one meal a
Oh,
day.
wow.
The guy is, he's not old, I think he's like 47, maybe early 50s, but
Yeah.
he looks fantastic, and he holds I think a world record right now for the deadlift at his weight class. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, but anyway, just
Still, and he's old.
yeah, I mean at 47, that's pretty incredible, right? And
Yeah.
I think he might be like 50 now, but just watching, this video that was him going through his day-to-day life and the amount of discipline that this guy has, and he's talking about, yeah, I only eat one meal a day, 1 hour out of 24 hours. That's the only time that I eat. And I was like, nah, man, this isn't real. This is
Yeah.
impossible. There's no way you could have that much muscle mass at that age,
Yeah.
and only eat one meal a day. But I tried it, I tried it for myself, and I stuck with it. I think the first time for like a week or two, and then the longest I ever went was about a month and a half, 2 months. But holy crap, like I could feel the difference, and I don't know if you have any like thoughts on like how you feel or how you felt during the time that you were doing one meal a day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel amazing whenever I do one meal a day.
Hmm.
Like I just have so much more mental clarity.
Okay.
Like I'm not really worried or thinking about it. I can have my mind on other things
Yeah.
for the day
Yeah.
other than eating. But then that 1 hour, that 1 hour, I'm like, all right, let's just gobble it all down and
Right. Yeah.
and refill my gut. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. My experience is just I I have had no problems with it.
Hmm. Do you how is it preparing for that? Do you feel like you have to do a lot of meal prep, or do you find that it's just easier because just a shorter like you don't have as much time that you have to worry about eating so much?
Yeah, I actually don't prepare anything.
Okay.
I'm just like whatever. Like I go into the kitchen and then I look at all the food that I have and I'm just like, all right,
Here's yeah.
let's just figure this out.
Right.
And I'm just gonna cook whatever I got. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah. I feel the same way. Like, you know, people, one of the big questions that I always get, being a fitness trainer is like meal prepping, right? Like, especially people
Yeah.
that want to gain weight. It's so much harder because, well, I don't want to say
Yeah.
harder necessarily, but it's difficult just because you have to prepare a lot of food. And,
Yes.
most people are like, they have this concept, especially bodybuilders or strength athletes that are like, oh man, I gotta jam like 7 meals into the day, and I gotta meal prep all this stuff. And I'm like, well, there's a benefit of one meal a day is like all that goes out the window. Like if you can just take like even an hour, that's a long time, right? An hour just to make all that food and eat it in that 1 hour, like all of that extra stuff that you have to worry about is gone. So,
Yeah, it's out of the door. Like
mm-hmm,
it's you just don't have to worry about it.
mm-hmm,
Like prepping, it just there's no point into it at that point.
right, yeah. And it like and if you have a busier schedule or something, it makes it just that much easier. So,
Exactly.
yeah. But I like the fact that you brought up the mental clarity. Would you say that's something that you experienced as somebody that's done intermittent fasting? And would you say that, like, how would you say that clarity kind of compares to one meal a day?
So I feel as though whenever I'm doing one meal a day,
Hmm.
my mental clarity is a lot more sharper
Okay.
because I'm not thinking about food as much.
Okay.
Like it's not the number one thing, or it's not constantly being reminded of me
Hmm.
that, okay, food, I need to eat this, I need to eat that, or something,
Hmm.
or that food is good. Even when I'm out with friends or something like that, it just doesn't come up. But with
Hmm.
intermittent fasting, I'm like, okay, well, I can eat this and then that and then this and then that within these few hours.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's kind of hard for a lot of people to understand, but yeah, it just kind of takes that your mind off of food
Hmm.
consistently, and I feel like food kind of clogs the brain in a way.
Hmm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
that's just me.
Well, I think there's actually a lot of, well, first and foremost, the concept of like digestion, and digestion being like an extremely energy intense process.
Yeah.
And so I think, that's one thing that when you shrink your eating window to something like, 6 to 8 hours, or even, down into like 1 hour, it your body doesn't have to expend as much energy. Like, they talk about the concept of the metabolic window, so that the first thing that you put into your body, your metabolism spikes, but then
Yep.
its efficiency kind of like drops and drops and drops. And so that kind of, I guess what I'm getting at is that you're not spending so much of your day processing food and, draining the energy from, your brain, right? So your thinking processes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's what happens. I mean, I didn't know all of the minute details or anything about it,
Yeah.
but once I kind of start paying attention to the way that I eat, I
Yeah.
was like, wow, yeah, I like my body isn't consistently trying to break all this food down throughout the whole day,
Right.
which is wasting a lot of energy, which,
Uh-huh.
like you said, it, you know, waste a lot of energy that could be used for the brain.
Yeah, exactly. And that I think, that to me that's kind of like probably where that clarity comes from because yeah, man, I experienced the exact same thing. Like people think it's so wild like holy crap, you haven't eaten in all that time. And it's funny, I did a 24-hour, it was like a 30-hour fast for the first time I've done that in a really long time, like probably like a year or so. And I just remember like waking up the next morning. I was like, "Holy crap, man! I feel so good." And it's like
Yeah.
I haven't eaten in so long yet. I feel so energized. I don't feel hungry. Um,
Yeah.
talk about talk about the hunger aspect. Like, do you feel kind of hungry when you do one meal a day, or do you find that it's your body like doesn't get hungry? You're just conditioned to knowing when the food's gonna come, and so that doesn't you don't feel that.
Yeah, I definitely I just don't get hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I've, like you said, conditioned my body to being like, okay, well, it's 2:30 or it's 3 o'clock. Now
Yeah.
it's feeding time, and that's the only time that I really need to think about food.
Right.
And I go through my day-to-day life, and people are like, okay, are we gonna want to go eat lunch? And I'm like, I got some water. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
No, I've got to wait until about 2 to 3, and
Yeah.
because I need to have that, 3 hour window of digestion before I go and do like a extraneous workout.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly. So, that's a good transition into like workout stuff. Do you tell me a little bit about your workout goals right now? Like, I see you're into a lot of different stuff. Like, I see you posting on
yeah,
Instagram like some like super early morning yoga and
yeah.
some other stuff like that.
So about a year ago, I don't know. I just decided I was gonna get into yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I met a friend, and I would go over to her house, and she would cook me some Malaysian vegan
Oh,
food,
yum.
and then we would do yoga workouts.
That's awesome.
And it started off because I would work out at the gym before, or like on a day-to-day basis,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried that first yoga class with her and I was dead. I
Yeah.
like I couldn't handle it and she was like, "What are you doing? How can you not do yoga?
Yeah.
You work out for like an hour and a half every single day. What's going on?" I'm like, "It's just the body doesn't know."
Yeah.
So, what I'm into basically is a lot of yoga. Every single day I spend about 2 hours of yoga at
Mm-hmm.
least.
Wow.
Um and then on the weekends, I usually do a little bit of yoga in the morning and then I will lift. It just really depends on how I'm feeling. I let my body kind of make that decision. I don't like follow a workout routine, but I'm usually in the gym for at least 3 hours.
Wow.
So it's 2 hours of yoga and then an hour of lifting. And yeah,
That's awesome.
I don't know how I do it. I just do it.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe it's a combination of those vegan gains and that that one meal a day, man. Keep your energy up.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Do you So I actually have only very recently got into yoga, and this is just kind of a little thing that popped into my mind. But there's I don't know if you ever read the book "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins. Everybody knows
Oh.
that I, Zach O'Malley, always bring up David Goggins a little too much, but something you should check out. It's a good book.
Yeah, I've definitely been seeing it on the my Audible thing, and I'm like, okay, I'll read that next.
Yeah, it's a no. And the Audible version is really really good because it has interjected interviews that he does personally, so it's really good. But one of the things that he talks about is how if you just because you run a lot doesn't make you a good hiker, or just because you hike a lot doesn't make you a good biker. And dude, that's something that when it comes to yoga, like in the last couple weeks, I'm like, here I am. I've been lifting for all these years. Like I can like deadlift like all this weight and stuff. Like I'm a big, strong guy, whatever. And then I go to do yoga, and I'm like, holy crap! Like this is so hard. You know,
Yeah.
like I'll be transparent with you guys. Like I can't even downward dog. Like my sister was laughing at me
Oh,
because like it's pretty interesting just how things don't necessarily translate. And to me it kind of brings up the importance of like trying new things, like going out and doing stuff that you haven't really done before. So
yeah, indeed. That's exactly how I felt.
Hmm.
Like I was running, training for a triathlon and try to get into yoga, and it's like, whoa, hold on, this
Yeah.
is very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
But just like David Goggins, I think I heard that on a Joe Rogan podcast. I
Hmm.
think he was talking about it. Um, yeah, definitely. If you can run, that does not mean you can hike
Hmm.
at all.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
having a nice variety of workouts is it gives your body the opportunity and it gives your muscles to try different new things
Right.
because if you consistently work on a certain amount of muscle groups, right?
Hmm.
That's all that's going to grow.
Right.
But if you
Exactly.
have a wide variety of workouts and different things,
Hmm.
all of the muscles will grow
Hmm.
and all of it will balance out. At least
Right.
that's the way that I think about it.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And, there's just so many factors too, like muscles working together that are not used to working together. I mean, so much of
Exactly.
like one of the things I noticed about yoga is so much of it is like stability, right?
Yep.
And it's not necessarily like, oh, you have to have really strong legs, but it's like you have to be aware of where your body is in space and
Yes.
what muscles are working together to hold each other up. And so I don't know, I've just found it very interesting and like a whole new discipline that I am not really used to. And so it's kind of helping me get out of my comfort zone. And I feel like it's kind of, we are in the age of crushing stereotypes, I feel like.
Yes.
And
Definitely.
and one of the things has always been like, oh, bodybuilders and strength athletes, like yoga, ha ha ha, that's for girls or whatever. But it's not. I mean, it's for everybody, man. Like it's so beneficial and like just in the conscious breathing and
Hmm.
just being with that pain, you could almost say, for like a long period of time. Like man, that's powerful, and I found it to be very very good for me at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've learned to love that pain.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
It is extremely difficult to be able to hold those positions, like you say, in like downward dog,
Hmm.
and that's completely different from holding a squat. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're essentially still using some of those same muscles,
Mm.
like your legs to hold you up, your abs, keeping your core tight, keeping your body downward.
Hmm.
But it is definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm always, I'm that guy in the gym that's always trying to bring someone into a yoga class, like all
Yeah.
the bodybuilders.
Right.
There's like some professional basketball players that go to my gym,
Oh wow.
and I'm always like, hey guys, come on, let's try this out.
Yeah.
They'll try it out once, and they're like, oh no, I can't do that
Yeah,
again.
man. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, you got to keep going. You have to build that, not only that muscle strength, but the mental strength.
That's right.
And I think that's the number one thing that I get from yoga is building the mental strength,
Yeah.
um, and matching your breath, because the breath work is key for everything.
Yeah.
You can't, lift a lot of weight without breathing. You can't just be holding your breath because I mean, it'll just be holding your breath and you won't be getting any oxygen to your body.
Right. Yeah.
So, with yoga, it's definitely one of those things that it's a learning technique
Hmm.
to get into
Hmm.
and learning how to breathe correctly as well.
Right. Yeah.
It's challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing that kind of sticks out to me is it's so much different than a lot of traditional exercises that are just like you go. It's like explosive movements, and then it's
Yeah.
kind of like a break, and then
Yep.
explosive movement, and then it's a break. Whereas yoga, it's like gentle. You kind of gently get into it, but then you hold that position. So
Yes.
there's not a lot of explosion and then break. It's like constant. It's like that constant tension, and so yeah, like that's where the conscious breathing it really introduces a whole new concept of fitness to people. And like you said,
Yep.
like you got like professional athletes that are like, holy crap, I've never experienced anything like this. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They rarely ever return, but I'm getting more people to come in,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, there you
more
go.
than I get.
Yeah. Spread the gospel, man. That's awesome.
That's exactly. I think that's what I'm known for.
Yeah, yeah. That's no, that's cool. That's cool. An introducer, a challenger. You know, you challenge people to do new stuff. So I like that.
Yeah.
Tell me, just to kind of bring it back to like fasting and one meal a day. Like, tell me a little bit about how do you feel like your athletic performance kind of has improved now that you're kind of doing these different fasting styles consistently?
Yes. Um, I kind of noticed that I'm able to last in yoga a lot longer now.
Okay. Okay.
Now that I'm consistently on the intermittent fasting and one meal a day thing,
Mm-hmm.
um, I can hold the poses a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I do go, whenever I'm lifting weights, I can lift a lot heavier.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
doesn't, it was eye opening to me that I could actually do that and still not eat as much
Mm-hmm.
oil or eat consistently throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone, every single day, are consistently telling me, "Oh wow, you should be, you should be eating more than that. How are you working out?"
Yeah.
And not eating. And I'm like, well, it just works. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I I don't know the complete minute details of it, but
Mm-hmm.
it works.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I mean that's. I'm glad that you kind of say it like that because that's a concept that I'm always trying to get people to challenge themselves with. Is like you don't.
Exactly.
I know it sounds kind of superficial, but it's like you don't need to stress yourself out with so much detail sometimes. Like
Yes.
it's 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 not possible to be well read on everything, and
Hmm.
there's an abundance of knowledge, like peer reviewed science that's going to be on both sides of whatever argument you're talking about.
Exactly.
And so it's like you should try things, you know, and yeah,
Just try it out.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly,
that's exactly what I tell my friends and things. And I'm like, hey, I'm still alive.
yeah,
And this is what I do on a daily basis.
right,
Why don't you try it? You're
right,
not gonna die from it.
yeah,
It's Don't be afraid to try new things.
mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's kind of what um my main kind of a message to the world
mm-hmm.
is don't be afraid to try new things.
Right,
It, most new things won't kill you.
right, yeah, yeah, exactly. And as long as they don't kill you, it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's a great point because it's like it might not work for you. It might,
Yeah.
you know, and for whatever reason, like you might not have the discipline. You might, you know,
Hmm.
physiologically, you might just find that you are not able to sustain that. But like you said, you probably won't die. You know, as
Exactly.
like assuming you don't have, you know, a serious medical condition, which you should know about going into it, something like
Exactly. Exactly.
something like that. But yeah, like you know, give it a try for a week, and you know, you might find that it doesn't work. But I mean, it literally took me like 2 days of one meal a day to experience exactly what you're talking about. Like, holy crap! Like I feel so much more connected, right, in the world.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
sensory, I feel so much more like a real person. Like I'm not living in a simulation. Um,
Yeah.
but also in the gym, like I mean, I was struck even just the other day when I took my 24-hour fast that I woke up the next morning at that point I was probably over 24 hours fasted. I went to the gym and I hit a, you know, a bench press personal record, and I was like, man, I
Wow. Yeah.
why don't I do this more often? And it does just come down to the discipline. Like, you know,
Hmm.
I wake up and, you know, maybe I'll have the discipline to get to like 1 2 p.m., but by then I'm like, you know, my automatic schedule is like, all right, like I've just finished working for like 3 hours, go to the kitchen, make food, you know, eat food.
Yeah.
And so it's not even like I'm hungry, it's just my, you know, my internal schedules like, here's what we do next, here's what we do next. And so
Yes.
and that's another great factor is like, how can I leverage that discipline to be able to make that progress? And so there's just it's like flexing all these different muscles, right? It's like the
Yeah.
physical muscles, but also the mental muscle. So
Yes.
yeah, man.
That's the thing. I love the mental challenge
Yeah.
of it all.
Uh huh.
It's like, wow, okay, can I last a little bit longer without eating?
Right.
Can I make it to, my feeding window?
Mm.
The mental challenge is the
Mm.
main thing.
Mm. Yeah. And it's, I mean, it's important that we flex that, right? Because like I feel like most gains in life are really, they start inside you, right? And
Yep.
so like if we can get to that place where it's like we're challenging ourselves to push, that so much more is going to become possible. And whether that's you and your like professional life, you with your relationships, being more patient, whatever it is, I feel like discipline is one of those things that like that's the secret, right? When those ads
Yeah.
like, and I
That's the secret sauce.
it is, man, it is. And like I'm a self-employed person, and I have like ads that I put out on the internet and stuff, and it's like you see all the time like, oh, 5 secrets that will help you get to this point. And for me it's like, yeah, I put out those same things, but the bottom line is always like discipline. Like there's no hack.
Yes.
Like the ultimate life hack is to have more discipline. And like once you realize that and you become comfortable with that reality, that you like, yeah, like it is actually going to be hard, but once you accept that, everything becomes easier. And it's like
Oh
so
yeah.
so paradoxical, but it's like so true. And I'm like, man, if only you could just somehow give that to people, you
If
know?
only you could like plant that seed in
Yeah.
everyone's brain that you meet. Just
Yeah.
you just have to be disciplined enough to
Hmm.
uh start something and stick to it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
uh, I go by this philosophy. Well, I got this quote: "Mastering others is strength,
Hmm.
but mastering yourself is true power."
Yeah.
And that goes to and that's by Lu Xiao, a uh, a Chinese Taoist philosopher.
Hmm.
And so I live by that. Like being able to master myself, that's the whole. That's discipline.
Hmm.
That's doing something and sticking to it.
Hmm.
That's doing it no matter how you feel, no matter what time of day or whatever it may be, no matter what kind of outside sources that are coming into you.
Hmm.
Sticking to something. Once you do that, you've mastered yourself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like weathering through the winds. I like that a lot. Um,
Hmm.
and that, yeah, that's a really good. That's something I've been thinking a lot about. Your internal. I guess I would call it like vibration in a way.
Yes. Hmm.
You like we have like a different levels. Like it does sound a little woo woo sometimes, but
No, no, I
yeah,
talk about this all the time.
yeah,
I
like
was going to tweet about this last night about, the vibrations and
yeah, man,
everyone has their level of vibration.
right. And like
Hmm.
we operate, we have like most of us have like a baseline, right,
Yeah.
somewhere on that scale. And if you can continue to raise it, to raise that baseline vibration, you're going to get to the point where it's like, things don't, like, the external influences are always going to come, right?
Yep.
And it really is up to you to be like, all right, well, what is my level of resilience? Like, am I able to like maintain that positivity that I walk through life, and I could get hit by a car and it's like, oh well, I'm still feeling good, and I'm still
Yeah.
I'm still creating like a really impactful and yeah, just a very good, like a strong presence. um I don't know, a little bit of a tangent, but I think that's something that people could benefit a little bit more from practicing that.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that, definitely.
Go ahead.
So that's what a lot of people say about me.
Hmm.
They always are like, wow, you operate on such a higher frequency. You're
Yeah.
always, you know, got this energy, and we can definitely tell when you're not at your normal
Right,
baseline,
right,
which
right.
is very, very high.
Yeah, that's
This was
awesome.
happening to me last night. I went dancing with some friends, and I'm always that one person out there on the dance floor by myself. And everyone gravitates towards me.
Yeah.
I think because they see that high frequency or notice it and they want to try and meet on that level.
Right, man.
Uh, but I also talk about how it's it's whenever you're a frequency person and everyone's picking up on that frequency, sometimes it drains you, and then you
Yeah.
got to take a little bit of a break.
Right.
And but you always restart that same high frequency in the next day,
Right, man.
and it's always continuously going.
Yeah.
And if that's your baseline, which is I guess is mine, which I'm just honestly noticing,
Uh-huh.
um, it's something that you have to grasp and really use it.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, so wow, I'm really glad that you're kind of connected to these concepts and mindful of these concepts. Like, um,
Yeah.
I want to, and I guess I have a lot more questions for you now because I have a lot of, my whole business, right, is kind of formulated around that concept of raising your vibration to maximize your life, right? And so,
Yes.
most people come to me with the desire to make some kind of progress fitness wise,
Hmm.
and my foundational teachings are like, yeah, you'll get the meal plans and the workout plans, but it really does start in your mind, right? And
Yep.
so, you're a guy that clearly you exude like a ton of positive energy just having this phone call. You and I were
Yeah.
you and I were on here trying to figure out this tech stuff for like 45 minutes,
Oh man.
even before we even talked. And the whole time I never sensed any kind of like frustration or anything. We're both just trying to figure it out. And so,
Yeah.
that with how much of a person, like clearly, like you take leaps and bounds in your life with a positive attitude. Like,
Oh yeah.
you're like a triathlete, I guess, like training for triathlons, like in the gym for like 3 hours a day, out here dancing and like, hyping your social circle up. So tell me kind of like, what do you have any kind of like strategies or anything that you do when you wake up in the morning, or some kind of like consistent protocols that you have in your life that are like, here's how I keep myself at this high energy level?
That's a that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to say that I just every day that I wake up,
Mm-hmm.
I think to myself, this could be possibly the last day of my
Memento
life.
memento mori, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And uh honestly, I just use that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to spend one day of my life not doing something that I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then um I don't know, it just keeps pushing me forward.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to uh just imagine myself doing anything and everything possible. That's what kind of gets my frequency up higher.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's like a good explanation of it at the moment.
Yeah. I mean,
That I just wake up and I'm like, all right, well, let's do this thing.
right.
What kind of changes am I going to make in the world?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's at least with my life now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, when I wake up, I want to at least make someone smile.
Awesome.
That's honestly it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sick, man. That's great. I
Yeah.
just like, just to kind of like nutshell it a little bit for people that might be listening to this. The thing that sticks out to me is just like, it's like the beginning of your day. And from the
Hmm.
from the jump, I mean, from the point of consciousness, you're coming to life with that kind of energy. Like, here it is.
Yeah.
Here I am again. And let me just maximize this, because I think that's something that a lot of people forget. Like, they're looking for these, like, man, how can I have that kind of energy that DJ comes to life with? And it's like, well, what do you do when you first wake up, right? Like, a lot of people, most people,
Exactly.
they wake up and the first thing they do is they reach for their phone, and now they're like,
Hmm.
they're drinking in all the happenings from all over the world and all of their
Oh,
friends. And like, how can you create from a place inside when you now have all of this external stimuli? So I think that's great. Like I'm glad that that
Yeah,
you're talking about the beginning of the day.
exactly. And um, it's not best to go reaching for your phone in the morning.
It's not.
I mean, there's
It's the worst.
the world that we live in now. There's
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
negativity or bad news. Always bad
Bad
news gets the
news.
most press.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Um,
right. It does.
and that's not a good way to start your day at all.
No,
At all.
no.
Um, I don't feel as that we should have that kind of influence on our lives. If we do, it's going to make us have negative energy for the rest of the day.
Hmm.
And getting that every single day, right in the morning, is just going to bring your frequency levels down.
Yeah, man.
And it's not good for your health, your mental health for one,
Mm-mm.
and it's definitely not good for your like spiritual health
Hmm.
at all.
Sure. Yeah, and that from my opinion, that kind of ties into physical health too, right?
Yeah.
Because there have been studies that show that your your serotonin and your specifically your serotonin levels in your mind are very directly linked to your immune system. And so if you are constantly in a place of depletion and like
Yep.
exhaustion, your immune system is going to take a toll too. You're going to get sicker. um, I know a lot of people probably have mixed feelings on Marianne Williamson, but
Hmm.
if you know who Marianne Williamson is, she was running
I,
for. You don't?
nope.
Okay,
I
well,
need to check her out.
well, maybe she's kind of weird, but but yeah, she basically talks about how cancer is kind of like she's talking about how cancer is is like actually more of a concept, and what it is basically just your body starting to destroy itself in a lot of ways, like different
Yep.
cells are trying to negative energy almost like manifesting. And I know, like, again, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, what the hell, that is completely
Yeah.
not cool at all. But it is, to me, it's like whether scientifically a lot of these things are accurate is arguable, but I'd venture to say that most people can feel that connection between like negative energy and their health starting to literally deteriorate. I mean,
Yes.
even the very basic point of you'll start to just feel more tired, you know?
Hmm.
And so,
So I'll have to say this. That happened to me last year.
mm,
Um, about around this time, I ended up having to come back to the U.S.
mm,
last year,
mm,
and I did not want to do it at all.
yeah.
And I was just had this negative mindset about being back in the US. And I was
Mm,
like, oh my God, the air is dirtier and,
yeah,
you
seriously.
know, you get sicker.
Yeah.
And I had that same mindset for
Uh,
me uh, for most of the year. And what happened was I actually got sick and I never get sick because before that, I always thought to myself, nah, I never get sick.
right.
And I just never really got sick, except
Yeah.
for maybe a cold, lasts for a day.
Right.
But last year, I had my mind set, oh my God, the US is making me sick. And, they put, all this negative thoughts
Fluoride
and I
in the
got
water,
sick.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got sick twice last year.
Wow.
First time having the flu, back in December, and then back in May, um, yeah, at the end of May,
Hmm.
I got sick with a stomach bug that took me out for like a month and a half.
Wow.
And I realized that it was definitely my mindset about the environment that I was in,
Yeah.
and that's what really took a toll on my health and my mental health. So it wasn't just like the physical health, but it was mental health as well. And because I was thinking that I would get sick, or because I was thinking negative thoughts of the US or just this my situation,
Mm.
I ended up making it actually happen.
Right.
So I definitely agree on that. Like,
Yeah, man.
sickness can be a mental thing.
Hmm.
It's been actually in a few studies that I've listened to.
Hmm.
I listened to a psychiatric and psychiatry podcast,
Oh, cool.
and there's some studies. There's actually a bunch of studies which say that as long as you're thinking that something is going to happen,
Mm.
it's going to happen.
Mm.
If you think that you're gonna get sick,
Mm,
you're more than likely gonna get sick. It may not be instant, but it'll happen eventually if you're
mm,
consistently telling yourself
mm.
that. That kind of goes into like the book that I'm reading right now, which is Think and Grow Rich, but we'll get into that another time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, this is a whole other conversation, and if you're interested in concepts like that, that's my bread and butter, man. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
that stuff is like I am obsessed with that kind of stuff, and I try to, I think only recently have I been like, you know what, my social media presence and like my internet presence, it's like I really need to be authentic and like tell people about
Yes.
what I'm really into because, you know, if you go into my YouTube and you go deep into the bowels of my YouTube, like back to when I really like started recording videos, like there's a lot of like really out there spiritual energy stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be as transparent as I can. Like I really do believe, in all these things, and I've just seen firsthand in my own life and in the world of thoughts become things, and
Yes.
everything that's created starts with an intention, and
Hmm.
so if you're setting that intention to be like really positive and go out and take one day at a time and create some really magnificent things, the world is at your fingertips. There's nothing that you can't do.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, I think that we tend to gravitate more towards negativity and creating like saying, oh man, like these things really suck and all the and whatever
Yep.
it is. But those things then start to become more and more as we recognize them, as we hold on to them. um
Yeah.
so
I 100% agree.
mhm.
100% agree.
Yeah,
I'm kind of into those those things as well.
awesome,
Like
man.
as as long as you're thinking of something, it'll happen.
Yeah,
Like
for
if you think that you'll be successful in life, it'll happen.
mhm.
And I live by that motto every single day,
Yeah,
honestly.
and you're reading the Bible of those thought processes right now.
Exactly.
I would, I mean, I will plug Think and Grow Rich until the day I die.
Yes.
That book is so good. I think I was talking to somebody about it over the summer, and we were just kind of sharing book recommendations, and I shared that book with her, and she was like, that sounds a little bit. I'm kind of put off by the title, and I'm like, well, wealth is when he says think and grow rich, he's talking about so much more than financial
Oh, so much
abundance. I
more.
mean, you can be rich in so many ways, and
Yep.
really what he's talking about is think and grow rich of the soul, right? Like wealth of the
Hmm.
soul. That's really what it is. And if that to you is financial abundance, so be it.
Yep.
You can have whatever you want, but if you're looking to save, for me it's like eliminate all the litter. Like I go outside and I'm like, there's too much litter out here. We got to get rid of this,
Yeah.
air pollution, water pollution, and to believe that you really can have a world that is free of those things. You can, and maybe that's like,
Indeed.
you want to have an excellent relationship with your family. You can have
Hmm.
whatever you want, but it does take a degree of mental discipline because you'll notice like there's a great book. I forget who that's by, but it's called the 7 Day Mental Diet.
Okay.
And basically the what the author is doing is he's just challenging people for 1 week to be mindful of your thoughts, and you'll start to
Yeah.
notice that like you might set these goals, like you might set these intentions of like, okay, here's what I want the world to be like, here's what I want my life to be like, all these things, but very quickly you'll see why they're not like that.
Yes.
You'll see that your own mind is confounding itself constantly, and your most consistent thoughts are why your reality is like that. And at least for me
Hmm.
personally, I can look at my life and be like, oh yeah, exactly. It
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
As I was so I listened to it, Think and Grow Rich. As I
Hmm.
was listening to it, and then I kind of like replayed my past,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, well, this is how I accomplished this thing. That was the only thing that my mind was focused on.
Yeah.
Like that was it. That like my whole mind, my whole thought process was accomplishing this thing,
Hmm.
and that's what happened.
Hmm.
And as long as, like I said, there's so many outside sources, there's so many outside things impeding on that thought process,
Hmm.
like family, friends, other shiny new things.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
exactly, man.
as long as you stick to the main thing, your main focus or
Hmm.
your goal,
Hmm.
then you're able to accomplish it.
Hmm.
You're able to do whatever you want to do.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's just about that mental conditioning for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I'll go ahead and plug Think and Grow Rich. I'm pretty sure is available on YouTube for free. You can find it
Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
on you know it might get taken down now and then, but usually if you put Think and Grow Rich audiobook into YouTube, you can usually find it. So if any of you guys that are listening to this want to do that, I would highly recommend it.
Exactly.
So cool, man. Well, obviously the last couple of things I want to talk to you about were like environmentally related. You're a vegan.
Yes, I am.
And so first and foremost, like tell us why you're vegan. How you became vegan. How long you been vegan for?
Okay, so I became vegan at the beginning of this year.
Okay, awesome.
I've throughout a lot of my life, I've kind of gone off and on. I've never liked red meat.
Hmm.
So I guess that's why I had a little bit of an iron deficiency.
Okay.
But so I've never liked red meat. Um, and I've always experimented with my diets, and I've tried vegan for like a week or two or so.
Hmm.
But most recently, the whole reason why I've started it and I'm not going back
Hmm.
is because a few months ago, or this happens when I used to eat meat, it happened way too often,
Hmm.
where I'm eating like a piece of chicken or something,
Hmm.
and then I'll just get this existential dread
Yeah.
within me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm eating a live animal. I'm eating this precious life
Yeah.
that was alive at one time. And it just kind of got to me. It just got to me too many times. And, it'll just randomly happen to me whenever I'm eating with the family. And then they'll just like look at me kind of weird. Like, oh, okay, sure, DJ,
Yeah.
and whatever, eat that chicken and keep going.
Right.
And I'm just like, I can't. Um, but no, the main reason why I became vegan um, was for the environment. I started doing more research on environmental impacts,
Hmm.
and the the food industry is the number one of those. Is
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to state any numbers here, but I think it's a little bit over 23%.
Right. Right around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I was thinking to myself, I'm always advocating for sustainable solutions and environmentally friendly options, but I'm still eating meat.
Hmm.
And meat is one of those number one things that's causing like a problem with the environment.
Right.
I've got to practice what I preach.
Exactly.
If I'm preaching for sustainability and caring about the environment, yet I'm still um, taking a part of that, I need to let that go. And so that's why I became vegan, but also just because I think I was listening to either a podcast or watching a video, something on it. But it was a TED Talk. Uh, it was the guy, he was explaining how we treat the animals, right? So they're in cages and the cows are ripped away from their mothers, and all of that stress hormones that goes into that meat,
Yeah.
where you ingest that when you eat it,
Exactly.
and you feel it, that's a frequency as well,
Right.
like that energy. How would you do that same thing to a mother and her child? Would you take the child away from that mother
Right.
and raise it just to be used as a source of energy?
Right.
We wouldn't do that for human life. Why should we do that with animal life?
Yeah.
And so that's another one of the main reasons why I became vegan,
Yeah.
because I just care about life too much.
Right.
Um, yeah, these animals, previously were used for just livestock and just for eating, but
Hmm.
that's not all these animals are born to do.
Right.
Like these animals have hearts, minds, and thought processes the
Hmm.
same as we do. Why
Right.
can't we treat them the same?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just as I'm thinking about like
Yeah, man.
the whole question, I'm kind of like getting emotional.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really tough. I mean, because once you do start to recognize those animals as individuals, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't. It takes it takes some really conflicting practices internally to try to reject that. And so I think once you see that, if you are a genuinely compassionate person, you can't really unsee it. I
Yeah.
I think the energy aspect is something I don't think you don't really hear people talking about that very much, but
Hmm.
I mean, I do like if you kind of subscribe to the whole collective conscious ideology that we are all God, right? Like God is us,
Yes.
God is
Yes.
us, right? Like how could how could it be passable that we could contribute to that much suffering and then expect things like I don't know. I just find it so ironic that people, they complain about people like Donald Trump and all of these
Hmm.
like politicians that are, oh, they're doing such evil, but
Yeah.
we are all contributing to the suffering equally. All
Exactly.
every aspect is a manifestation of the greater collaborative consciousness, right? And so
Hmm.
I don't think it's yeah, I do think it's extremely problematic that we cause so much suffering and expect that we're going to get a better world. I mean, until the world is predominantly vegan, I don't foresee any kind of like quote unquote peace on earth. You know what I'm saying?
I 100% agree with that. And I think that's how I came to find your Twitter
Hmm.
account
Hmm.
was I was just looking for other like-minded individuals who cared about that same thing,
Yeah.
which is no, we are not going to get anywhere in this world if we don't switch away from all the suffering that we cause for other animals and
Hmm.
for the environment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, animals are much more like energetically simple in a lot of ways. Like, there's not as
Yeah,
much clouding them, with
yeah,
like thoughts and all these things, and it's like
hmm,
you can just feel when you're around an animal like I don't know if
yeah.
you knew this about me, but I was actually a dairy farmer for 3 months when I first graduated from high school,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, and that was like a very transformative experience for me because I mean, I was like, oh, I love animals, right? I want to go work on this animal farm, but once I got there and like really realized like holy crap, man, like these animals are they're they are like numbers on a chart.
Yeah.
They're being viewed as stock and not as beings.
Hmm.
And then you like zoom out at the whole global picture, and it's like we're doing this to like tens of billions of animals. Most estimates are like 3 trillion animals or something like that, and it's like that is just
Yes.
that is unbelievable, unbelievable.
The
And
amount of suffering that happens
mhm.
to animals, I think it's coming now. It's this is circle of life, right?
Right, right.
So we're creating all this amount of suffering for animals, and now
Mhm.
that's coming up back to bite us in the butt
Yeah,
with the way the climate change is happening and
exactly,
hurricanes and people
exactly.
losing lives, and people are not really making that same correlation to
Mhm.
that. And that's what I'd like to get through to people's
Mhm.
brains is that the way that you're able to eat an animal that was slaughtered,
Mhm.
it's the same thing that's going to happen when there's tornadoes, and
Mhm.
it all has a correlation.
Yeah, and
All
that's
of,
yeah,
energy is never created nor destroyed, right?
right,
It's just transferred.
right.
So as much as we're having the energy to kill and slaughter animals, it's going back into the environment
Mhm.
and it's going back into, the weather and causing a lot of damage. People are worried about, tornadoes and hurricanes and things like that.
Mhm.
Well, you know who caused that? That was us.
Right.
That was us killing
Mhm.
you may not see the connection to that,
Right.
but there is connection to it because, like
Mm,
physics, energy is never created nor destroyed,
mm.
just transferred.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I think it was Nietzsche that said, people are a little bit too smart for their own good, and they try to find that scientific connection to everything. And it's like when when the 3D evidence doesn't exist, it's like, oh, it doesn't exist at all. But
Exactly.
if you were to just use your heart and really, I don't know, just use compassion and observe, it's like, oh, everything makes perfect sense, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I mean, I think that's part of why, like, one of my missions in life is to keep spreading the vegan message, because I do think that that is the most important thing that a human being can do to
Yep.
really make that change for a better world, is to
Yes.
condemn suffering and to condemn it in a way that you are practicing that condemnation. So
Hmm.
yeah.
I agree 100%. And that's exactly why I made that switch, um, that permanent switch at the beginning of this year
Hmm.
was that, I can't, you know, I can't add to this suffering anymore.
Right. Yeah. And we're growing, man. I mean,
Hmm.
I know it's a really incredibly dark topic, and
Yeah.
for us, I'm sure it brings a lot of deep sadness, but I mean, I have a ton of hope for the future. I mean, I think the vegan movement is growing and people are seeing the light, and
Yeah.
I believe that there will be a vegan world, and it's just a matter of time. But
Yep.
we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there for sure.
It takes me and you and everyone else
Right.
who are already vegan to continuously spread this gospel
Right, man.
and
It is.
spread this word to
Mm-hmm.
people that, please just end the suffering.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they wouldn't want suffering in their own home.
Mm-hmm.
Why cause it in the home of a farm or anything else like that?
Exactly, man. Exactly. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have hope, and I think it like
Yeah,
each and every one of us matters, right? Like we do
exactly.
matter as individuals, to convince each other, to convince our families, to convince our friends, and that's how we're gonna grow, one person at a time. And you can just see, like, the if you know what veganuary is, or anybody listening knows what veganuary is, but
Yeah.
it's where you sign up for January vegan, and they'll give you a mentor and a bunch of recipes, and they'll help you to be a vegan for the month of January, and hopefully for the long term. But just in the last 5 years, I think last year the number of signups was something like, in 2019 it was something like 60,000, and this year
Oh, wow.
it was over 400,000 people. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so it's like, I mean, we are growing, and it's amazing to see. And between the kinds of, like, internet haters, and all of
Yeah.
these, like, documentaries and all this stuff, it's like, holy crap, like, this is blowing up. And
Yeah.
um, I don't know. So it's a great thing. It's a great place to be right now. And I encourage everybody to go vegan right now, go vegan
Do it.
this second, throw out all that crap, stop contributing to animal suffering, do the best thing that you can do for the environment, do the best thing that you can do for your spiritual, physical, mental health. And yeah,
And
we're
physical health. I mean, it's been
yeah,
noted that eating meat causes cancer. I
yeah,
mean,
man, yeah,
come
no,
on, look at the correlation there.
yeah, exactly. No LDL cholesterol in plant-based foods. The only place LDL cholesterol is responsible for, heart disease, stroke, all of these serious cardiovascular issues. And guess what? There is no LDL cholesterol in plant foods. And so the best way to reduce your high blood pressure, the best way to reduce your risk of heart attack and stroke, is stop eating animal foods, man. Don't
Exactly.
do it. Their spirits are coming to drag you to hell.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
amen, man. But don't do that to yourself. So yeah,
Indeed.
that's my little addition.
Yeah, those spirits are coming back to bite you in the ass.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So just to we've been going for almost an hour now, which is pretty awesome. I want you, I see a lot of stuff that you talk about regarding like EV cars, and I think that's
Yeah.
super interesting. Such a great space to be in. So yeah, tell me a little bit about that. How'd you get interested in electric cars, and do you have one? Do you own one?
I don't own one
Okay.
due to like my travels and
Yeah. I
everything.
see you travel a lot.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. But I did convince my friend to get one,
Okay.
and I'm talking to everyone every single day about getting electric cars, and
Awesome. Yeah.
they're more convinced every single day.
Yeah.
So not only was it about the environmental impact,
Mm.
um, but because I've always been like huge on the environment,
Mm.
I'm the one who got my parents to switch over to recycling
Oh, good.
back when I was like 10. Because they drill in our heads when we
Right.
were younger, like reduce, reuse, recycle. And I'm
Exactly.
like, I'm gonna live by this.
Yeah.
Um, but EVs, I owned a before they had, full battery powered electric cars.
Yeah.
I got a Lexus hybrid, and it was just so much fun to drive.
Yeah.
It saved a lot more on gas.
Mm.
And I was like, well, why don't this whole thing become fully electric? I
Right.
mean, then you're not going to have to buy any gas. Gas is
Yeah.
disgusting.
It is.
Gas, we all know that gas and oil refinery and all of that mess
Mm.
causes so much pollutant into the air,
Right.
which we we breathe air,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately, to
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
So that's what that kind of got me into it. I made a correlation to if we can't sit in the garage with the car running and survive,
You
then
die.
what do we yeah,
Yeah.
what do we think is doing when we have millions and millions, I don't know, of cars on the
Mm.
planet,
Mm.
which our gas does not escape
No.
the
Stay.
atmosphere. So
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
doesn't just go out into space, and no, it's consistently just
Mm.
stuck here.
Mm.
Um, so it I got into EVs because I was a huge car nerd as a kid,
Mm.
love cars,
Mm.
and I thought about the financial impact that it was having on my switching over to just a hybrid. I
Mm.
was like, wow, that saves a lot more money.
Mm.
But when battery powered cars completely came out,
Mm.
such as the Tesla, who I'm preaching Tesla from the tops of the mountain.
Love Elon Musk and that company, man. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, he's my I just look up to him every single day.
Yeah. We got to get him to go vegan because he's
Yes,
yeah.
indeed. I'm surprised that he isn't.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow. Yeah.
but yeah, the whole point of switching over to an electric vehicle, one, they're a hell of a lot faster.
Mm.
Um, we know that batteries,
Mm.
we turn on our phones, they instantly turn on, right?
Right. Right.
We turn on, we flip a light switch,
Boom.
that instantly turns on.
Yeah.
Um, doing the same thing with a car, and
Mm.
uh, you step on the gas and it instantly takes off.
Boom. They're fast. Yeah.
Yes, it's so much more fun.
Yeah.
Also, electricity can be renewable,
That's right.
so solar panels,
Mm.
wind turbines,
Oh yeah.
hydro power.
Right.
There's so
Yeah.
many different ways on how to
Tidal.
power it.
Tidal
Exactly.
power. That stuff is cool.
Tidal power. Yes.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities to get free energy that
Mm.
we don't have to burn coal
Mm.
or burn oil or anything like that to create energy.
Right.
Also, like, why would you have to pay millions of dollars for surveying, sonar, and drilling causes deaths,
Mm.
uh, and they can explode, set on fire,
Mm.
all of that just to get some energy out of the ground from old dino blood and guts.
Yeah.
I just don't see as that like that's not energy efficient
Not at all.
as as compared to, putting a solar panel outside and the sun rises and sets every single day.
Right.
That's not going to stop anytime soon.
Right.
The wind is consistently blowing every single day. That's
Yeah.
not going to stop
That's
anytime soon.
nope.
And no one gets hurt from the sun shining every single day and the wind blowing.
All right.
and harnessing that energy and just putting it into a car
Mm,
is insane.
yeah.
It's free,
Right.
it's safe, and then the car is fun.
Right.
Oh man,
What's
why not?
what's the
Why not
down?
buy?
Yeah. What's the
Yeah,
downside?
what's the
Nah.
downsides?
Yeah.
I get this all the time. Well, it doesn't go as far
Yeah.
as a gas powered car, and I was like, all right, let's get into this subject.
Yeah. I mean, it's
But
yeah. No. I mean, yeah. I do recognize that there are some downsides. Like obviously, it's a little bit more expensive right now, and so not
everything new is expensive.
exactly. And like as time goes on, like it will get cheaper. Like Tesla now has the Tesla Model 3, which starts at $26,000, and so you know
38,000 dollars.
oh 38,000.
Um,
Okay, so it'll
yeah,
but yeah, but it'll keep going down, and as time goes on, like there will be more options. These other car
exactly.
companies, they have very deep roots to the fossil fuel industry, and so part of why that they're still creating these gas powered cars is so that they can maintain those relationships. But
And keep
they're
their profits.
exactly. But the consumer is basically shouting at these industries and saying, hey, like we want affordable electric cars. um,
Hmm.
One of the issues I see is like mining for lithium is a very environmentally destructive process.
Yeah,
But I don't know. My kind of philosophy is that we are going to get to the place where like our recycling processes are so advanced that all of these old cars, we can take them apart and take different parts about out of them, and smelt them down, and
and
all
reuse them.
exactly like all of these. I think cell phones are the number one technology waste product. And
Yeah,
so if we can figure out how to take all of these old phones and take them apart and take those batteries out and bring them back to their raw elements, these things are going to become reality.
hmm
And
it's very soon.
yeah, and to me, it comes back to that whole concept of like, do we believe, right? Like,
Yep,
are we holding ourselves in this vicious cycle of like, oh no, that's not possible, so we're going to keep doing things the way that we've been doing them. And I'll
yep,
tell you what's really not possible is surviving on a completely uninhabitable planet, right?
exactly.
We're like these things that seem impossible, we got to stop using that word because we don't have time for that word anymore.
Nope, nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
Um, back, you know, in the early, 1800s, they didn't think that we'd have the possibility of having a device in your
Anything.
pocket that
Right.
has the computing power of,
Yeah.
almost the brain of a human
Right.
in your pocket.
Yeah.
That was impossible. But look at us now. We have
Everywhere.
phones everywhere. We
Yeah.
have computers everywhere.
Don't
It's
say it.
all super affordable.
Yeah.
But when phones and computers first came out, they
Mm.
were expensive, right?
Oh yeah. Like
Only a few people were able to afford them.
right.
But eventually, now the whole world owns it,
Yeah.
owns phones and
Yeah.
computers and have access to the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It just takes time and investment and the believing that anything is possible.
Mm.
Anything.
Mm.
I mean, you can think of your wildest dreams and it's a possibility. It just takes time.
It does. Yeah. And that shift to that vibration where it is.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And that's why I love about Elon
Hmm.
is that he was the only one, or just the only few people who really believed the possibility of an affordable electric car.
All right.
And back in the early days, everyone talked about it, oh, that's not possible, that's not possible.
Mm.
But now we have the Model 3, which is a $36,000 car or
Mm.
$38,000 car. A lot of people can afford that.
Mm.
Living here in Texas, a lot of people own 60 and $70,000 pickup trucks, which
Mm.
they just drive to their job
Right.
and drive home and don't even use it for what it is used for.
Exactly.
So when people say that $36,000 electric car is expensive? I'm like, yeah, no, nah, not at all.
you never driven one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also try and advocate and tell people that there's way more electric cars out on the market
Mhm.
other than just Teslas.
Right.
There's cars that are about $7,000 to $8,000. Electric
Really?
cars. Yes.
Whoa.
Like the Fiat 500e. It goes about 100 miles on the charge. You
Wow.
can get one of those, super nippy, so much. If you've ever driven a Fiat
Yeah.
at all,
They're great.
it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Think about it when it's like instant energy.
Right. 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. Like,
Exactly. It's so cheap.
yeah.
So much more fun to drive. You're not having to change oil or anything like that. And
Right.
it's affordable.
Right.
It's just the fact that most people don't know about them.
Right. Yeah.
Most
No.
people aren't actually looking in that area.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's actually, what you set your sights on as well.
Hmm. Oh, awesome, man. Awesome. That's a great transition back to that concept. So I love it.
Yeah.
Um, did you hear about the new the Hummer that they're bringing out?
Oh yes. The
Yeah.
new Hummer. I'm super excited for whatever electric car comes to the
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they do really great things with this new Hummer.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they chose the Hummer brand,
Right. It is.
uh,
Yeah.
because it's the complete opposite of exactly what anybody would ever think of a Hummer.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But hopefully GM will definitely do this brand some justice and
Right.
change up their whole act.
Right.
But as a legacy automaker, it's kind of hard really get behind them because
Mm.
they've got their money in oil and gas
Yeah.
for almost 100 years now,
Mm.
and that they don't really have a huge incentive in creating this
Mm.
new electric Hummer.
Mm.
But I'm glad that they at least tried it,
Mm.
or at least they're doing it.
Well, hey man, I'm gonna try to buy one because I like
Yeah.
I like the contrast of like Hummer's name, and at least in like the more environmentally conscious community has just been destroyed. Like in the
I know.
early 2000s when the H series was
Yeah.
popular among people that wanted a big vehicle. It's like we're talking more like gallons to the mile versus miles to the gallon, and
Yes.
for them to come like Hummer hasn't released a vehicle in a very long time. I mean, I think it's been at least like 10 years or
Uh,
so.
Yeah, actually, it's about 10 years. They stopped producing cars in 2009.
Wow. Yeah, so a little bit, wow, a little bit longer even.
Hmm.
But yeah, for them to pop out and say, we're creating a fully electric Hummer, and not only that, 1,000 horsepower. I mean,
I know.
that's
That's
unbelievable. That's
insane.
unbelievable. So, and like groups like Rivian that are coming out with the electric.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Rivian's so cool. I love
Yes.
Rivian. Yeah, but
Such a gorgeous vehicle,
yeah,
man.
yeah, and but I think what they're doing is helping people to realize like like you talked about, especially in Texas, I'm sure, like the big lifted trucks, like that's like a community,
Yep.
that's like a culture thing.
Hmm.
And so to say like, hey, it doesn't have to be a combustion engine. Like you can do this in a way that is fully electric, and frankly it's going to be better because they're the battery powered fully electric engines are going to have efficiencies that just go so much further than anything a combustion engine could ever be capable of.
Exactly.
And so
Because it's not, you're not having to turn like a liquid fuel into energy, which energy is, like electrons, right?
yeah.
Which is going to power that inverter, is going to power the engine, and
Hmm.
power the sparks, and I don't know the intricacies of a
Yeah,
gas power engine
yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, the fact that um, people should just realize that you don't have to do, you don't have to have gas, you don't have to have all that rumble and noise to have a lifted pickup truck.
yeah, exactly.
And then also, it's going to save you a shit ton of money.
So much money. Yeah,
Fueling these trucks are super expensive.
yeah, it
I've,
is.
I've got some friends who owns pickups, and they say they can spend at least $300 to $400 a month on fuel. that that just blows my mind. And I'm like also thinking, wow, they also own like a $60,000 truck. What is the payments on this thing?
Right,
And
right.
once they realize that once they switch over to electric, they can save that $300 but still have this huge pickup truck,
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, yeah, that's it, you know?
Right. That's it. It's game
Here's my
over.
money.
Yeah, game over. Take my money. Yeah, man. No, I mean, I'm. It's gonna be really exciting to see some of like the shakeups.
Yeah.
And I don't really like to invoke politics a lot of the time, but I think that's something like, yeah, I'm a big fan of Andrew Yang. If you know much about Andrew Yang,
Oh yeah, I know
and
you are.
yeah, yeah,
You got me onto him.
yeah, good. And yeah, like one thing that really strikes me about him is like he takes like a lot of these concepts that we've had and we've like polarized ourselves over, and he introduces a whole new component that helps people to be like, huh, here's this component that we've never really thought about that actually can even unite us. And like,
Yeah.
for him it's the concept of like technology being the real culprit of job loss rather than what people on the right typically used to attribute to like immigrants,
Yeah.
and people on the left used to just be like, no, never mind. We don't know what to say, so we're just gonna say no.
Yeah.
It's not happening. But he's like, it really is happening, and
Hmm.
it's not something that's somebody's fault or a group of people's fault. It's just like how we progress as humanity. Like that's just inevitably what's happening, and so
Exactly.
I think that part of like what electric trucks to me, it's like it's uniting two kind of groups like environmentalists, people that care about the environment, and people that really love going out and driving a giant truck around,
Yeah.
mudding or like dragging your boat or whatever it is. But yeah, to helping them be like, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but
Hmm.
what we need to do is figure out a way that's like sustainable that we can practice these things. So
Yeah, so we can have both. So we can
right,
have our environment and our trucks to go mudding.
yeah,
We can merge them together
yeah,
and we can
and
have so much more fun.
right, have a much better world. Right, we don't have to give up the fun. But we can do it in a way that's like beneficial for the planet. So I think it's awesome.
Exactly. Hmm.
I'm super excited to see what happens, and I'm gonna go look into that Fiat because
Yes.
I,
It's super cheap.
yeah, man, and like it's crazy like the kind of cars that are coming out now, like the new Porsche that's coming
Oh
out.
yeah, the Porsche Taycan.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty sick.
it's gonna be so cool to see the kind of things that are happening. Where I mean, we are so lucky to be alive in the time that we are, just to like see these massive political and environmental and economic calamities that are like happening, but realizing that we also have the solutions to fix these things, and
Yep.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna fix them, and I think 2020, man, we're coming to that time where everybody's really on the same page. Like, all right, these things are happening. It's just like, how do we solve them?
Exactly. How do we solve them? How do we keep rolling? How do we keep
Right.
growing? How do
Yeah.
we keep going?
Yeah.
And I think more people are opening up their eyes and their minds to what the future is actually going to look like.
Right.
Back in the 70s and 80s, we had this idea, or actually earlier than that, we had this idea of this whole world of like, you silver and utopian, and we kind of diverged from that for a little while.
Right.
But now I think people are realizing that that's actually possible,
Right.
and all we got to do is work together with each other to
Right.
do so.
Yeah. Sweet, man. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Do you have anything else you want to bring up or talk about at this point? Or
Ah, man, meditation,
good wrap? Okay.
mindfulness.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, yeah.
I think, once you start spending a little bit of time with yourself,
Uh,
quiet,
yeah.
and from within,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it really just opens up your mind to so many other things and so many possibilities that you can do,
Mm-hmm.
so many possibilities that the world has out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just advocate for mindfulness.
Yeah.
Sit and
All
be
the time.
quiet with yourself.
Yeah.
We have so many things on the outside consistently bombarding us
Mm-hmm.
all the time. We never have that time to sit and just be quiet and
Yeah.
nothing.
Right. Yeah. So are you a practitioner of meditation? Do you meditate
Oh,
most days?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Every
Awesome.
single day,
Awesome.
to go to bed. I'll meditate to go to bed, and then I'll meditate in the morning,
Uh,
um, just for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, just to kind of get my day going.
yeah, that's awesome. I do the same thing. Usually, like when I first wake up, just sit up in bed for about 5 to 10 minutes, just like that. So
Yep,
that's cool.
sit up, cross-legged,
Yeah,
everything.
there you go. How did you get into meditation? I mean, what was your kind of introduction to it?
Uh, so back in the summer of 2018,
Hmm.
I was living in New Zealand, and things were happening, and that wasn't going my way, and so I got super depressed,
Mm.
and I got to this point that I was like, I just can't, I can't deal with this anymore. I want to end it all. And then um, I remembered something from my past, and then I was like, you know what? This isn't the end. There's solutions out here to make it feel a lot better, to not make it feel like I want to end it all.
Hmm.
And then I just started Googling, and meditation was one of those things. And I was like, well, I don't want to die today. I don't actually truly want to die today. So let me go ahead and look into this meditation and try it out.
Hmm.
If it doesn't work, next thing I can do is go running.
Yeah.
Or next thing I can do is, read every single day.
Right.
So I tried all of it at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just started meditating for 5 to 10 minutes every single night before bed.
Hmm.
And I totally forgot of the negative situation that I was in.
Hmm.
And my life just instantly changed.
Yeah.
I I I I don't even know how to put more words to it, but
Hmm.
my life completely changed once I started meditating.
Yeah.
I didn't think of negative energy. I just was like, wow, the whole world is my oyster or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. No, it's like what you hold on to. I mean, I think there's a there's some yogi that said, enlightenment is not like about reaching out for
Hmm.
something. It's really just about letting go of like
Yeah, let it all go.
the baggage. And man, that's so true. And I try to meditate every day also, and I notice that when during the time periods that I start to feel a little bit more held down and sad, or even like getting angry too easily, I'm like, usually it's because I'm not sticking with my meditation practice.
Yep.
And I find it's like even just like 5-10 minutes after you know, open my eyes and get up, I'm like, man, that is like the best feeling thing ever.
Yeah.
Nothing feels better than that. So yeah,
Nothing.
yeah,
I've had so many memories of meditating, and then at the end of the meditation period, I'm just like, wow, oh my God, this is amazing.
yeah, yeah,
Why wasn't I doing this last week when I was having a hard time,
yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
getting back to that meditation practice is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Do you have any kind of insight for people that might have interest in starting with meditation but don't necessarily know where to begin?
Yes, start on YouTube.
Mm.
Start with guided meditation.
Mm.
I started on YouTube, just listening to it before bed. Um, I named Michael Seeley.
Hmm.
He has some really great guided meditations,
Mm.
and that's the perfect start. It's just have someone guide you through the process of breathing, guide you through the process of kind of letting it all go. And then he has a very soothing voice as well.
Okay, that's always a plus, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, we've been talking for now like about an hour, a little more than an hour, almost an hour 15 maybe. So I think this is probably a good spot to wrap it up. But
Yeah.
awesome, man. I'm really glad that you took the time out to chat with me today. And
Thank
I'm
you.
I'm sure we'll do this again very soon because we had some really good things that we brought up. So
Definitely. I look forward to it.
yeah, cool. I will plug your social stuff in the description of wherever this is found, and so people can check you out, give you a follow, see what you're up to. But yeah,
All right.
until then, man, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, everyone. Well, that's it for today's episode of the Earth Movers podcast. If you're interested in giving DJ a follow on social media, his specific handles are plugged below. Same thing with me. If you're interested in giving me a follow, my specific social media handles are plugged below. If you're interested in any kind of personal coaching or personal training, you can get in touch with me at zach@veganstrongfit.com, and I'll see your emails there. Until next time, I appreciate you guys giving it a listen. Have a great day.